In the Dartmouth athletic community, there are a variety of sports teams that have remarkably different degrees of diversity. By interviewing players on the lacrosse, football, rugby, and swimming teams, we hope to uncover the contrasting understandings and experiences of diversity on each athletic team. Our focus on the impact of different types and degrees of diversity on each team will be on the possible social implications, differential communication forms, and team dynamics.
Dear old Dartmouth, give a rouse.
Hi, I'm Katie Bork, and I'm on the lacrosse team.
Hi, I'm Micah Kroom. I'm a class of 2020, and I'm on the football team.
Hi, I'm Sophia Turquetta. I'm 20, and I play for the women's lacrosse team.
I'm Sarah. I'm a 20, and I am a part of the women's swim team.
Hi, I'm Mia. I'm also 20, and I am also a part of the women's swim team.
Hello, I'm Charles Mack, and I'm 18 on the football team.
My name is Mia Anderson, and I'm a 19 on the Dartmouth women's rugby team.
I'm Katie O'Neill, and I'm on the lacrosse team.
For the lone pine above her and the loyal ones.
I think diversity is a mix of different people from different backgrounds and experiences.
I guess same thing, similar to like variety, multiple different aspects or multiple different versions, or from different places or demographics, whatever you choose to name it or call it. Of course, diversity plays a huge role when people are talking about race, or when people are talking about maybe a certain subcategory or topic. But diversity, I think they run hand in hand with like versatility and variety. So that's probably what I would say.
I guess it's a group of different people that come from different backgrounds and ethnicities and cultures that come together.
If it's like, diverse team, the team would have, whites, blacks, Latinos, Asian Americans, I'd say. So just having a good group of people from, different backgrounds and different cultures.
Diversity is a group that has a lot of different parts. So I guess that could be like racial diversity, socioeconomic diversity, or like just diversity of experiences.
Diversity to me is the combination of a bunch of different experiences, and those experiences can be racial, social, economic, they can be your family background, it can be where you come from, and I think diversity is when you have all those different backgrounds in the same place and people get to learn from and experience those different backgrounds.
I define diversity as inclusivity and no discrimination. I think diversity is an important aspect of our culture.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, just being inclusive of everyone and treating people all in the same ways, or at least not discriminating based on race or gender or ethnicity or whatever.
Give a rouse with a will for the sons of old Dartmouth.
My high school team was pretty monogamous in the sense that it was mostly Caucasian. Actually, I think all Caucasian. And here is the same thing race-wise.
I'd say it's about 80%, if that, probably a little more, to be honest. And that compared to here is, very different. There's still like, a difference in culture and just how the team chemistry is, and I feel like that's definitely something that I've had to, grow into. Sexual orientation, in high school that wasn't really, it wasn't really talked about. We all just assumed, that everybody was, heterosexual, some, man who played football. Wasn't really talked about. The same thing for, I'd say, here in college. It's, joked around and stuff, but, we make jokes, but it's never something that's, like, really discussed. We just assume, based off assumption, on the football team you're male, heterosexual, but, that's nothing that we've ever really, discussed before, I'd say.
I did a lot of track and cross country in high school, and so I come from a community that's predominantly Hispanic, about 99% I would say, and low income, so people were pretty much coming from the same backgrounds when we were on the team, so we never really noticed any differences between those. So coming onto the women's rugby team, where people come from very different backgrounds, very different races, very different socioeconomic statuses, and also just sexualities, has been a really interesting experience, and I've actually been able to have friends who come from all those different backgrounds now.
Give a rouse with a will.
Honestly, no. As for like race, I think everyone's it's not very diverse.
Second year, but from the upperclassmen, and even going a little bit from my first year, I think we've definitely moved towards a more diverse team.
We have like a diversity of like location, I guess, geographic diversity, but I wouldn't say that we're particularly diverse team.
We have a lot of international students on the team.
Yeah, we also have a lot of Asians on our team, so I feel like it's a mix.
Racially, I'd say it's mostly white, but there's diversity represented.
Of New Hampshire.
I mean, for football, it has increased. Other teams, I've seen it increase little by little, but I do know there are some teams who are, very predominant, white, for that matter, which is, totally fine. But whether it's recruiting in different areas, that might change the culture of the team. Personally speaking, on the football team, I feel that the team chemistry and the culture has grown the more diverse that the team has gotten.
As a whole, Dartmouth athletics is pretty diverse. Certain teams are definitely more diverse than others. I do think that diversity is helpful just because having people who have all different experiences to come with them makes a team more well-rounded.
I think diversity is lacking on a lot of teams. I think part of that starts with the factor of socioeconomic status. Some sports are inherently more expensive than others. They require a lot more gear, they require specific trainers. In order to get recruited for college, they require going to clubs and traveling, and that requires money. I think for rugby, because we're a walk-on team and because the only thing you need for the sport is a ball and a mouthpiece, it is a lot more open to people from very different backgrounds.
Sarah and I were talking that each team here attracts a different ethnic group because of just talents and whatnot. So I'd say swimming, is the same.
Their veins and the granite of New Hampshire in their muscles.
Yes, actually, this year we had our first meeting of the year was centered around our values, and one of them was the fact that we're accepting of all races, cultures, sexual orientations, everything in that sense.
Yes, actually our coach, he has this acronym called CARE. It's consider, accept, respect, and educate. That's something that he's really pressed on, the newcoming, the freshmen coming in, and then of course that's something that he's always, iterated us every year in meetings, just, being diverse, as a team, we've grown to be more diverse, and he's really pushed, that CARE acronym because a lot of people are unfamiliar with, different races and how their culture is, how they talk, all that's, something that you have to really take the time to educate yourself on, especially if you're trying to grow as a team, and win games. I know that our biggest thing is once you step on the field, everything outside of football doesn't really matter and you don't really think about it. It's just football, but I feel like understanding the stuff off the field as a team and really trying to understand the other person and the perspective. Coach has really pushed, diversity and understanding people, even off the field and, around the campus. That's something that he's really wanted us to do, is open up and be willing to talk to, people that aren't on the football team, for that matter.
So our team does have discussions about diversity, and part of that's because we have to make sure that we're always respectful and including of all the different backgrounds. And a big part of that discussion started when we lost a lot of women on our team, and we realized that a lot of them were women of color, and so we really had to go and look at what was going on with our team structure that caused that to happen. Part of it we realized was because a lot of the women on the team came from socioeconomic backgrounds that required them to work multiple hours on campus. And so our coach really addressed that, and we cut down some of our practice times to allow people to have that freedom to do what they need to outside of the team.
Not really as it pertains to diversity, more just conflicts that arise due to personality differences. I wouldn't say it's ever been a problem with ethnicity or race or sexual orientation. That's never really been an issue.
For the lone pine above her and the loyal ones who love her, give a round.
No, I wouldn't say we're intentionally marginalized. I think a lot of the minorities that were once considered minorities are gradually growing, and you can't really consider them as minorities anymore. So it's like certain groups or certain divisions will grow so large to where there's no way a team or organization could possibly overlook them or neglect them. So I think that's one of the reasons why that never really happens. But I don't feel like we're intentionally marginalized or separated at all. I think a lot of times whatever we do, whether it's with a certain event or a certain opportunity, it's offered to the entire team, as a football team.
I think there is a marginalization of minority students on this campus. I think some spaces are inherently more inviting to non-minority students. I think part of that's because of what we are culturally accustomed to and what other people are culturally accustomed to welcoming into their social spaces and into their communities.
I don't think so. I think team events for most teams are inclusive of all members of the team, and certain people wouldn't be excluded for like a diversity reason.
Give a rouse with a will for the sun.
Like Sarah said, it's more just like you accommodate what they need and they do the same for you. It's more just like a personality difference, or like I wouldn't say there's any major barriers with international students.
Yeah, it depends. Sometimes consciously or unconsciously, and it's never out of fear or trying to kind of tiptoe around a certain topic or tiptoe around somebody's ethnicity or social background, but just to communicate clearly, I guess, I think the first thing to attacking this and dealing with it, in terms of diversity, is to understand. So I think the better you are at understanding each other and one another, the better you are at communicating clearly and getting through to persons, or getting through to people, in terms of just getting the message across, or being able to communicate back and forth on an easy access.
Sons of old Dartmouth, the daughters of...
I don't think that it would alter the dynamics at all in a good or bad way. I think it would be a different group of people, but nothing would change.
I think they would. I think it does. And I think it's the same thing for whether it's in sports or out of sports. Same thing like when you recruit and you attract different people from not only different demographics but different geographical areas, you're going to get all types of results, Of course, I think there's always opportunities to improve.
I don't think I've ever noticed the diversity on our team directly impacting our playing. I think when we step on the field, everyone has one mindset, and it's rugby, and it's winning and defeating our opponent. But I do think it definitely affects the out of competition, social structure of our team and the way we interact with each other. And I think that probably impacts it for a lot of teams.
Dartmouth, though round the girdle.
I don't recall any experiences seeing it.
I don't think I've ever heard of that here, no.
Personally, I haven't gone through anything, but I have, heard of teammates and people on other teams who have gone through something similar, whether it's, racial slurs or, people talking down on, African Americans based on stereotypes. They're real, like they do, happen, and that it is real for, some African Americans, but to take that and lay it across, all African Americans is something that's, that's something that I've gone through. Actually, that's something that I've gone through personally, but I've seen it happen on campus plenty of times.
I haven't seen it on our team, and I haven't really heard about it on another team.
A Rome, her spell on them remains.
I don't think so.
I would say yes. As a coaching staff, it's grown in the number of African American coaches from my freshman year. A lot of the coaches on the team, yes, they've worked with, African Americans before in their past, but of course, they haven't lived as one, they haven't gone through, life as one, and that right there can be hard to relate to your coach on topic. They might not fully understand, but we do respect them and understand. Like, we're thankful that they want to, but it's also hard on us because they might not even have really an answer for why this might be happening or what we could do for it.
I think it's both. I think it's intentionally and unintentionally. I think we have some coaches on staff who understand that a certain way I may communicate with one player may not be as effective as communicating to another player, and you have to kind of change your speech, and you have to kind of change your response and how you convey a message to a certain player. And I would imagine it's just out of trying to get the best out of that player, get the best out of that student, and trying to get the message through clearly. But I mean, it works both ways. I think at the end of the day, it's just them trying to do the best they can to get the message across.
I've never noticed our coaches directly interact with someone else differently because of their backgrounds racially. I do think that they have struggled to understand the different backgrounds people come from a socioeconomic status. So for students who do have to devote more time to working an actual job, like our coaches aren't as understanding or sometimes willing to open up those conversations or don't know how. And I think that's something that you remember, that your coaches are also human and make mistakes, and everyone's in this learning process of how to adapt to all these different backgrounds. But I think that's one place we can definitely improve.
Yeah, I don't think they get any special treatment or whatever compared to us. I mean, different people based on their personalities need different things. Especially in the sport of swimming, it's pretty mentally challenging. So.
While many of the players had similar understandings of what diversity should be, their experiences with the actual implementation of and interaction with it are drastically different. Players from the football and cross, rugby, and swimming teams describe large differentials in the dynamics, communication, and social circles involved with having various nationalities and races in the context of their teams. The perspective shared from the lacrosse and swimming teams were different in that their experiences with diversity were extremely limited. The insight provided by these interviews raises questions about whether the Dartmouth athletic community is aptly diverse and what steps we, as a school, will take to increase our exposure to various genders, races, national origins, and sexual orientations.
Is made part of them till death.